Okay, everyone is here. Okay, let me get started. You probably heard Robinson Crusoe before, even though you probably haven't read it before, or probably someone probably read it in a Korean text or in another language, but it includes the one who read it or not, doesn't matter. When somebody mentions Robinson Crusoe, what do you think is about it? What do you think the book is about? Just tell me your impression. Okay, when you heard the name of the novel, Robinson Crusoe, what comes to your mind first?
Voyage.
Voyage. Yeah, it's about voyage, yes. Yeah, what else?
This sounds like a really hard book for me.
Hard book for you. Have you ever read
Yes.
it before?
No.
No. Okay, then welcome aboard. It's not hard because of the unusual structure of the language, and it's written in the 18th century, but you might feel like you're reading a very old English. So that's why you feel like it's rather hard, but we'll talk about it later. Okay, so you think it's difficult. What else? There are many movies based upon this novel. Yeah, and many like similar, movies, one of which is actually Cast Away, starring, very famous, Hollywood movie star Tom Hanks, Cast Away. Which actually has is one of the few ideas stemming from, which means originating from, this novel Robinson Crusoe. Because whenever you read a novel about people or man or woman stranded on a single island for many years, that must be similar to Robinson Crusoe. But actually, it's much more than that. Yeah. The problem is, even if you read it twice or three times, you may still not notice it. Yeah. So what else comes to your mind when you hear the name Robinson Crusoe? Voyage, what else? Do I see? Oh, surviving in an island. Yeah, that's the central plot of this novel. Yeah, basically, he got stranded on an island, and he's gonna have to survive until he comes to some rescuers, right? And this is why this novel has many spin-offs. It created similar novels even in the 19th and the 20th century. But do you know? We've been talking about just the content, right? Many people just seem to be concerned about the content when they hear the word or name Robinson Crusoe. I actually used to think that way before I came to read this novel in English version. But do you know that actually, and this is why I chose this novel, your school teachers may not be so much concerned about this, but it's their problem. It's because Robinson Crusoe, in the history of human intellect or human history, takes a landmark position in many ways. Yeah, this is a very, very important novel for men in many ways. Yeah, It's just that many people don't read it anymore. Yeah, maybe they've been so exposed to similar stories so much, so well. Yeah, because, for instance, like we need to see many zombie movies, zombie novels, Dracula novels, Frankensteinian novels, so they got fed up. But when it came to be released or published for the first time, they were considered groundbreaking work in literature, not to mention in politics, philosophy, history, even in psychology. And Robinson Crusoe is one of them. Yeah, even if you happen to read Immanuel Kant, the very famous, Kant is one of the most influential philosophers even now. Kant also, he actually wrote that he read Robinson Crusoe when he was a young man attending college in Königsberg, it's like a North Germany. Back then it was Prussia. He noted his views or feelings about this novel. Kant noted, even philosophers such as Kant noted that this was a groundbreaking novel in many ways, because this novel actually piqued a huge interest in philosophical topics. But it doesn't stop there. Okay, so let me just briefly talk about why this novel is so important, even in 21st century. Okay, many other people who just read a novel like this may not be interested in this. But probably I could tell you this because I'm a philosopher and I'm a scientist as well. I study physics and chemistry. I major in philosophy of science, history of science too. Actually, Robinson Crusoe is considered a landmark work even in the history of science. So you end up reading it if you advance to graduate school, studying history of science, history of actually economy, or if you major in political science later. So, okay, can anybody tell me around about when, what is the time frame of this novel?
It's about 17th century.
Yeah, around mid 17th century, yes. Now, can you think of any major big event that took place in 17th century?
The industrialization.
I'm sorry, Industrial Revolution?
Yeah.
Yeah, it took place about the second half of 17th century, yes, second half. But I'm talking about the earlier event. Actually, it took place in 1600 and 1602. What could be that? Can anybody tell me? If something happened in 1600 and 1602, and it changed the way we live, not technically, yeah. So we're actually living under the system that started out at the beginning of 17th century. And if you have read so far, I ask you to read about from page 1 to 32, because this novel doesn't have a chapter. So it doesn't have a clear ending. All the book, story is connected. There are no chapters dividing the, storylines. But anyway, if you have read at least 30 pages, something comes to your mind. So let me ask you in a different way. Why did Robinson Crusoe insist on leaving his parents, even though his father and mother actually persuaded him not to? Why? You might think adventure, see the world. But if you have read 30 pages, what did he get?